Security summary from Putting Integrity into Finance, Purely Positive Phenomenon, Capitalism and Society on August 22nd, Scannell and Hall 2014 reported in the Financial Times the largest bank settlements with the US government related to mis-selling mortgage securities, foreclosure, abuses, and repurchases of loans sold to the government. Bank of America, August 2014, 16.7 billion. JP Morgan, November 13, 13 billion. Bank of America, in 2012, 2013, 2014, respectively, 11.8, 11.6, and 9.3 billion, respectively. The record speaks for itself on the lack of integrity. Bank of America admitted to repeated failures in its duty to disclose to investors the poor quality mortgages that were packaged and sold in securities of BoA and Countrywide and Merrill Lynch, both which it acquired in 2008 during the financial crisis. The Bernard Madoff Ponzi scheme. This is D. On December 10th, 2008, Bernard made, I love seeing the word Bernard before Madoff, admitted to his sons that the asset management arm of his firm was a Ponzi scheme. Son, listen up. On March 12th, 2009, Madoff pled guilty to 11 federal crimes, including securities fraud, wire fraud, mail fraud, money laundering, perjury, and falsifying files with the SEC. Wow, this so rhymes with like I don't know what was in the 70s. It feels like fraud was really, really rampant in the 70s. I can't put my finger on exactly where and when and how, but this really rhymes. And yeah, it's just look, all this crazy stuff, in my opinion, uh, forget my opinion. It occurs to me that this stuff exists so that we could, I don't know, make it work for everybody. Instead of I win, you lose. Refusing to name accomplices, he claimed sole responsibility for the Ponzi scheme and defrauding his clients of $65 billion. Former SEC Chairman Harvey Pitt estimated the actual net fraud to be between 10 and 17 billion. Note this calculation does not include the fictional returns made off credited to his customer accounts. Prosecutors identified 13.2 billion in losses and accounts opened since 1996. He was sentenced to 150 years in prison. It is noteworthy that Madoff, and look, Madoff, if you're somehow listening or getting this message, it's you have every right to be forgiven too. It's just a matter of, being responsible for it and figuring it out. And I don't know what your kids or whatever like that. Chairman, I know they didn't know about it. I get it. Chairman of the board of directors and the board of governors of the National Association of Securities Dealers. That indicates something about the integrity to those organizations. And you can roll back to, I don't know which, the authority videos. There was only two parts, I think. Where it's just, hey, maybe Madoff's a contribution in the prison. What I it seems to me is going on is that's like just white collar criminal college is you just go to prison and learn all kinds of ways to scam people for a buck. But maybe I'm completely off. But yeah, like someone being a contribution to the prison and supporting other people. I mean, there's got to be, issues that prisoners deal with, anger and the such. And you could be a role model for the prison. You could do anything, actually. So this is a separate out of integrity scandal that we're calling it. Matthew Martorma, again, you could be forgiven too. Sentenced to 9 years in prison. Knock wood, you're already complete and over with. So with everyone that you had damages for. If you did. On December 8th, 2014, Matthews 2014 reported the following in the Wall Street Journal. Matthews Martoma, who worked for hedge fund billionaire Stephen A. Cohen, was sentenced to 9 years in prison on Monday for taking part in what prosecutors said was one of the largest insider trading schemes ever. U.S. District Judge Paul Gardefe handed down the sentence saying Mr. Martoma's crimes was a brazen as it was lucrative, and that there is a darker side to his character. Mr. Martoma is the eighth SAC employee convicted of insider trading. Most have chosen to plead guilty rather than contest the charges. SAC, to look up what SAC is, um, security something, um, itself pleaded guilty in, oh, this is the name of the company, guilty itself in November to criminal insider trading and agreed to pay 1.2 billion in new penalties. As part of the settlement, the firm said it would stop managing outside money. SAC has since changed its name to Point 72 Asset Management. The past decade has seen a burst of insider trading prosecutions. The surge is largely the product of a crackdown by the Office of Manhattan U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara, who has charged 89 people with insider trading since 2009 and secured 81 convictions or guilty pleas. A handful of cases remain unresolved. The uptick has coincided with a sharp increase in the length of jail terms for those convicted in New York federal courts, which handle the bulk of such prosecutions. The average length of a prison for prison sentence is insider trading is 135% in the past decade. I love what Barbara Corcoran said. She said, if you haven't made it in your 20s, you'll make it in your 30s. You haven't made it in your 30s, you make it in your 40s. You haven't made it in your 40s, you make it in your 50s. You haven't made it in your 50s, you make it in your 60s. You haven't made it in your 60s, you make it in your 70s, and so forth. Mr. Martoma, who worked at SAC for 4 years until he was fired in 2010, was accused of using inside information provided by two doctors about results of a trial of an Alzheimer's drug being developed by Elon Corp and Wyeth Pharmaceuticals. Both doctors testified they passed inside tips on drug tests to Mr. Martoma. Elon is now part of Perrigo and Wyeth is part of Pfizer. Mr. Martoma opted to go to trial even after prosecutors sought his cooperation against Mr. Cohen, who was involved in some of the trades Mr. Martoma was originally charged for. According to people familiar with the matter, the move could potentially have earned him leniency. The jury convicted Mr. Martoma of 2 counts of securities fraud and 1 count of conspiracy in February. For those interested more about SAC, now renamed Point 72 Asset Management, Stephen Cohen, CYSAC Capital, Stephen Cohen isn't in jail by Sheila Kotar in Business Week in 2014. HSBC violation of money laundering laws. In December 2012, HSBC, the global bank, agreed to pay 1.9 billion in US penalties for violation of money laundering laws in its dealings with various questionable and criminal enterprises. The Department of Justice and US Treasury said Tuesday that HSBC allowed the most notorious international drug cartels to launder billions of dollars across borders. In addition, the government said HSBC violated US sanctions for years by illegally conducting transactions on behalf of customers in Iran, Libya, Cuba, Sudan, and Burma. At a news conference in Brooklyn, New York, Assistant Attorney General Lonnie Brewer said the settlement concluded a 5-year investigation in which the department reviewed 9 million documents. HSBC is being held accountable for stunning failures of oversight, said Burr in a department statement. The record of dysfunction that prevailed at HSBC for many years was astonishing. So this is not to defame or demean any company, group, organization, person, anything like that. Knock wood, hey, HSBC, you are open to being forgiven. Knock wood, you paid all your damages already. So um yeah, if someone wants to we'll have to look that one up too. Are they which of these people that were held liable are now fully paid their debt to society and um like that. HSBC is fully stunning oversight. HSBC CEO Stuart Gulliver accepted responsibility for the bank's mistakes. We have said we are profoundly sorry for them and we do so again. Uh, I guess apologizing. We're profoundly sorry for them and do so again. I guess he's saying we will apologize again. I don't know. Governor, I mean, it makes it seem like we're gonna do it again, but only more hidden, so you can't find it. But I'm sure about just reading too much into that. The deal includes a deferred prosecution agreement with the Department of Justice. No charges will be brought against the bank provided certain conditions are met. Brewer didn't rule out individual prosecutions. As part of the settlement, HSBC is required to take actions to strengthen its compliance policies and procedures. HSBC has also replaced its senior management and clawed back deferred compensation bonuses given to its most senior officers in the money laundering compliance division. In Mexico, HSBC became the preferred bank for drug cartels and money launderers. According to the Justice Department, the government said the bank didn't raise red flags even when billions of dollars in transactions took place in cash, the typical mode of operation for drug dealers. Between 2006 and 2009, according to the DOJ, HSBC failed to monitor 670 billion in wire transfers and 9.4 billion in cash transactions from its Mexico bank operations. Because of these failures, at least 881 million in drug trafficking money, including those of the Sinaloa cartel of Mexico and Norte de Valle cartel of Colombia, were laundered through HSBC, according to Justice. The DOJ said HSBC also helps process 660 million in prohibited transactions from Iran, Cuba, Sudan, Libya, and Burma by deliberately hiding the identities of these countries. Record finds the new normal for banks. Just keep raising the fines. The London-based HSBC joins a long list of financial institutions that have faced scrutiny from U.S. regulators over allegedly illicit money transfers, but the size of combined settlement of 8 different U.S. authorities is unprecedented. I'd like to see a study of white collar immigrant crime. Well, an immigrant company, a foreign company operating in the United States versus a United States company and who commits more fraud. um, UK Bank Standard Chartered agreed Monday to pay 327 million to settle charges that violated international sanctions on transactions with Iran, Burma, Libya, and Sudan, or people that started a business that are immigrants that then commit crime, white collar crimes. What is that percentage? Um, and what kind of subsidies do all these companies, foreign or domestic, get? Um, yeah, we know the fines are not even close to what the profits were. But that's the thing. Your company goes down, so it's just not worth it. We always said it's not worth losing a client to like make a few bucks. You might make a few dozen sales, a few, maybe 100 sales, but eventually you're gonna get caught, and then you're gonna lose the client for the whole company, and then you're responsible for all these people being out of work. In June, Dutch bank ING agreed to pay a $619 million penalty for moving billions of dollars through the U.S. financial system at the behest of Cuban and Iranian clients. Back in 2010, Wachovia paid 160 million to resolve allegations that its weak internal controls allowed Mexican cartels to launder millions of dollars worth of drug proceeds. Wells Fargo bought Wachovia in 2008. Gotcha. And Swiss bank Credit Suisse paid 536 million in 2009 to settle US claims concerning business with Iran and other countries. While HSBC's penalty dwarfs these other settlements, it's still just a fraction of the 16.8 billion in profiles that the bank recorded globally last year. Like, where was Wachovia started? Where was ING started? Dutch bank. There you go. UK bank, Swiss bank. This is so wild. I mean, back in America too. I'm not going to say anything about them, but as part of the settlement, bank will admit to violating the Bank Secrecy Act, the Trading with the Enemy Act, and other. Well, hey, we enacted those acts. There you go. Everything happens for a reason. We had to go there with the fraud to get here. Law is intended to prohibit money laundering, a government official said. The report of the Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations detailed a regulatory culture at HSBC that shocked even its own employees, according to testimonial provided to the committee at a hearing. Senate investigators concluded HSBC did little to clean up operations that should have raised, excuse me, concerns. Mexico, HSBC's Mexico Bank had a branch in the Cayman Islands that had no offices nor staff, but held 50,000 clients' accounts and 2.1 billion in 2008, the report said. What is this? The School of Low Expectations Banking? One HSBC Latin America compliance officer wrote in a complaint about the practices at HSBC Mexico, according to Senate report. Whoa! The HSBC official said the Mexico Bank's an anti-money laundering committee can't keep rubber stamping unacceptable risks because someone on the business side writes a nice letter. We have seen this movie before. It ends badly. In 2010, Wachovia Bank paid 160 million to settle similar Justice Department charges. Peace, love, everyone, the best.